shall I render to the Lord for all his bounty to me?
Welcome to Veiled in Grace. I'm Kyra.
And I'm Anna. We are Cradle Orthodox Christians
And we're here to talk about what it's like to be Orthodox women.
in a very non-Orthodox world.
And today I am very excited because I was given the honor of introducing our very first guest, Marie.
Yay!
Thank you for joining us, Marie.
Thank you for
We are
having me.
so excited to have you. I have thought about this introduction since we decided that we were going to have you on the podcast. Because Marie is here for a very fitting topic, which is hospitality. She is the queen of hospitality. I often joke that if you are going to like show up late somewhere, it's because you're going to walk in with like 6 homemade pies that you've been making from scratch for the last 10 hours and a scarf that you just knitted in the car before you walked in. And then Marie walks in today with an entire container of oranges and gifts for us, and
Pretty fitting.
Pretty fitting. It doesn't get any better than that. But really, we are so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
We knew she was the most hospitable and least judgmental person to have as our first guest. So, in case anything went wrong.
So when it takes us 6 hours to set things up, she won't be offended. But thank you, Marie, for coming. Before we jump into our topic today, we would really like to have you give us a little bit of background on your Orthodox journey, I guess you could call it, how you grew up, if you were cradle, if you were a convert, and what your life looked like.
Okay. Well, I am a Cradle Orthodox Christian, and I grew up in the Antiochian Church outside of Pittsburgh. So pretty much lived there since I was 4. I was born in California and lived there, and then we moved back to where my dad was from. So yeah, my whole family on both sides is Orthodox, and pretty much my whole life has revolved around the church.
So you were really like steeped in the faith there.
Very steeped in the faith. Yep. All of our extracurricular activities were usually, based around, church activities or teen youth groups growing up, and church conventions and things like that.
All of the things.
Was it a large parish?
I would say we had about 200 people.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty large.
Yeah.
compared to
Yeah. It was
most.
probably 2 or 3 times the size of our parish now. So
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Now you have family who's Orthodox, or like clergy, right?
yes, I do. Actually, so my dad's first cousin was a metropolitan in Tripoli, Lebanon. So we started off with him. And then my brother is an Orthodox priest in the Antiochian Church in Ohio. And also I've had some of my uncles are deacons and subdeacons. And so
Wow.
it's a lot of, it's ingrained in us, you know,
Yeah.
so.
And you're really a great example for us to look forward to also because we are both kind of in the thick of it with I say my young children. Anna's are
Middle.
growing up. Anna's are growing up. But Marie, you have raised children in the faith too.
Yes.
Was your husband always Orthodox?
No, he's not. He was not. My husband was raised in the Protestant faith, and he always attended church with me up until about 10 years ago. He was still not Orthodox. And then, whenever our current priest came into the church, he asked him, "Why aren't you Orthodox?" And he's like,
No one's ever asked.
no one's ever asked me. So, so he kind of was a catalyst
him.
and encouraged him to become Orthodox and to lead the family. He felt it was important as a father, and as a husband, to lead the family and be an example. And the children should see him going up for communion and participating fully, not just showing up on Sundays for church and not participating in any of the sacraments. So
Absolutely. Were you very involved in your church? I know you said like you did activities and things like that, but like when your children were younger, even in the church here, do you feel like you were very involved in a certain aspect of something in the church?
Yeah, it was kind of hard. You know, I wasn't as involved as I am now because they were younger, but I was sort of, when the kids were at school, a lot of the ladies would be making pierogies or halushki or halupki, and they kind of took me under their wing, and I would show up when I could, and I'd leave when I had to get the kids off the bus. So yeah, I learned how to make all of those things, which was exciting because I come from a Middle Eastern background, so I had no experience. I've eaten pierogies, and we had wonderful pierogies in our community at the Ukrainian church down the road, but yeah, I never really was immersed in the
You
Slavic.
how to make them.
Yes, yeah.
So you kind of had this shift between like your Antiochian background. What was that like going from your Antiochian background to like, I mean,
Slavic,
our
yeah.
church is part of the OCA, but
Yeah.
a lot of, you know, the people that founded the OCA have a Slavic background.
Right. Yeah. It was actually not as hard as you would think. When we first came to the parish, we felt very welcomed. And a lot of the music, the liturgical music, was actually very similar to my parish. Sang a lot of the same tones and, you know, a lot of the same music arrangements. So it really felt like home, and everybody was very welcoming. So as soon as we came in, I was like, breathed a sigh of relief, and I'm like, oh, we're home. This is it, you know. So we had tried a few other parishes in the area and just didn't feel the connection.
So you kind of came into the OCA because it was in the area that you were living in then?
Yes. So we moved here about 20 years ago. So we were living, both my husband and I are from the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
And we lived in Albany, New York for about 4 years when the kids were small. And then we moved from there to here. So yeah, we were looking for a church, and we were happy, and everybody welcomed
Landed
us,
here.
and we landed here.
Yeah, I remember you saying that you felt welcome with your children because obviously little boys aren't always the
Yeah, they
easiest to have in church.
Marie is welcome to the boy table.
Yes.
She didn't disclose that.
Oh yeah.
Because Anna has 3 boys, and I have 3 boys, and Marie has 2 boys. So
Yes.
if you're a mom of a wild boy, then
You can relate.
you can fit right in here.
Absolutely.
This is a
Yeah.
safe zone.
Yeah, my kids were very, very active.
That's always the nice way to put it. That's what my mother-in-law always.
Very
That's how she
active,
always
yes.
describes my husband and her brother, or his brother. She's like, they were just very active. That's a really nice term to use for it.
Yeah, it was. So it was, you know, it was the previous priest who was here when we came in. He didn't mind that my, you know, oldest son would walk up front and just sort of, you know, closer to the altar, and he would just kind of be looking around, and, you know, and it just, I mean, it was just like,
It doesn't change.
it was
They're always
comfort. Yeah, it
intrigued.
was comforting to know that we weren't, you know, and the parishioners were very understanding of it. And eventually, you know, he got over that phase, and yeah. So I mean, it was nice to be, you know, to feel comfortable and welcomed, and not worry so much about the children.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Well, that's a good segue. So thank you for sharing all of your background. So I'm going to read a scripture regarding our topic of hospitality. It's Hebrews 13:2. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. And in Orthodoxy, hospitality isn't just about hosting. It's deeper than that. It's how we encounter Christ in other people, welcoming them into our homes or our churches.
And not just that, how we are Christ-like as well.
Exactly. Yes, the flow. We know it can be intimidating to be hospitable and to welcome people into your space, especially us introverts. Sometimes we don't always want to be around all the people all the time, but the church in her tradition shows us that it is rooted in love and simplicity and just the presence of Christ.
Now, Marie, we obviously invited you here because when we thought about hospitality, you were like the number one person who came into our minds. But I'm curious, I feel like now you would identify yourself as, you'd probably agree, like, yes, I enjoy hospitality. But do you feel like that was something that you grew into and kind of evolved into? Or have you felt like you've always had this like calling to gather with people?
Real quick, the reason we're saying this is because Marie is the hospitality ministry leader of our parish.
It's also fitting.
She feeds all of us. And I call her Mother Marie because she just takes care of everyone with such elegance and grace and yes. So she is the perfect person to discuss this topic.
Actually, yes, I started with hospitality in my home parish back in Pittsburgh. And at that time, it was a little bit more of a simpler coffee hour than what we do here at our parish. But it was mainly coffee and donuts. But I was probably about 8 or 9 whenever I would help our main person who would make the coffee every week.
8 or 9?
Yeah, I was pretty young.
You're like my son.
Yes, I know. That's what I said.
Yeah,
It's
or my 4-year-old who all of a sudden has this
yeah.
interest in putting away dishes in the kitchen.
Why so I mean, it's been great when you guys.
We'll let you raise
your
them
kids.
up,
They can
You're
come
doing
on.
great.
They can come on in. So yeah, I started kind of like informally doing that. Like after communion, I would go down and help make the coffee and help set things up. And it was a pretty basic setup, but I was a part of that, and I did that until I was like kind of like a junior choir member too, so I would sing in the choir, and then I'd come down, and do that. So I sort of just kind of migrated into that, and I've always just done that. And I think probably just my family background is we have family restaurant. My grandparents had started a grocery store in the area that I grew up in, and it morphed into a restaurant, and the entire family worked there from a very young age. And so we're pretty much like grew up in the restaurant business and hospitality to the community. So
it really has been your calling.
It has been my call.
You just kind of grew in and accepted it, which is awesome.
It's just sort of my life. So
it made me think of the icon that we brought today, which you can share about a little bit. But when I was looking up some scripture again before I came, and we were reading about Abraham and Sarah in the Cliff Notes, I don't know if that's what you want to call them, of the Orthodox Study Bible, it specifically made reference that hospitality is seen like a virtue. And it's really beautiful to see someone like you that, this is obviously a gift that God has given to you, because it's not for everybody. For some people, you really have to work to be a hospitable person and try to show that love that Christ has to other people, but it obviously so naturally comes to you, and you just embrace this virtue that is hospitality.
Absolutely. Yeah, so she's what Kyra was referencing.
Maybe
is
I can grab it.
You're able to get it. The icon,
I'll hold it this way.
it's known as the icon of hospitality, or of Abraham and Sarah, but it's not Abraham and Sarah. This is actually the Holy Trinity. And because in the Bible, when it talks about Abraham and Sarah welcoming 3 angels of the Lord in, and it's actually the Holy Trinity that they're welcoming in. And so it's a good reminder for us to know that any person that walks through the doors of your home or your church is Christ and the Holy Trinity, and we should be treating them as such. And so that's kind of our inspiration for today.
So Marie, when you think of the word hospitality, what comes to your mind?
I think the most important thing is welcoming people, because I feel like when you're new to a parish like I was, 20 years ago into this parish, I felt very welcomed and embraced, and I feel like I didn't feel that at some of the other parishes that I had visited. So I feel like that's an important thing to do. First of all, is to introduce yourself, welcome, make the people feel comfortable that they're there and they're wanted and they're welcome into our community, and then just show them that, like a friend of mine had said, which it's a quote that sort of sticks with me all the time, but she says, "If we love you, we feed you." And it's so sweet because, it
Marie
is
lives
showing
by
that. That's how we show love, and I think it's like a love language.
No one complains when they're given food.
Yes, right.
It's like toddlers. Just give me a snack.
Yes,
I'm fine.
it's hard
So
to complain. Yeah.
we never grow out of that. Just give me a
Right.
snack and I'm fine.
Yeah, so that's sort of kind of the way I feel about it. And other times too, I've also heard that if you prepare the food with love, it's taken well. It's
Yeah.
like, instead of a person that's not wanting to be doing it, the food is received in a better way if it's prayed over, like we've said. Like that's why
Yeah.
we bless our food before we eat it.
We're reminded that in the early church, we talked about this, I think, in a previous episode, but the early church would gather in people's homes for church sometimes when they were under persecution, so they had to hide in homes. But they would gather in each other's homes. I think it was at some point before church, then it moved to after church, the agape meal, which means love, the love meal.
Yeah.
So they would gather in homes. So this is something that has been happening for ever. And we also know our monasteries, the same thing, that's their spiritual practice, is welcoming outsiders in and showing that hospitality to anyone who comes to visit them. Anytime you do go to visit a monastery, if they know ahead of time, they will, plan some sort of meal or something. If it's like a group or whatever, or at least, show you around the grounds and, represent Christ and see Christ in you when you visit. So we do have these practices in our church that have been kept for over 2,000 years to show love to our neighbors. It's the best way. Yeah.
I have scripture here that kind of ties into that. That's from Matthew 25, if I can find it. And it's kind of talking about what it's like to be a stranger and actually taken in. Matthew 25, 35. Yes, thank you, Anna. For I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. So, and it goes on to say, then the righteous will answer him saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you? And the king will answer and say to them, assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me. And tying back into the serving everybody in a way that you would serve Christ. And, if you are treating people from all walks of life the same and you're bringing them in, then you are treating them as if they are Christ because they're made in his image. So it makes sense. I know that it's difficult, though, for people that it doesn't come so naturally to incorporate that into their day-to-day life, because a lot of, in today's day and age, a lot of what society puts on us and how we feel like we need to live in this perfect bubble. And
It has to be Instagram worthy.
yeah, I mean, I fall into this trap all the time, and just try, like, I don't want people coming over to my house because they'll see that my bathroom floor is duct taped together because it's not replaced yet, and they'll see that, like not even joking, like, they, you just have to embrace it at some point. There's so much less judgment from other people than you think that there will be, and we are our own worst critics. We put this pressure on ourselves to feel like we have to be perfect in order to be perfect host, but there is no such thing as a perfect host. The Lord wants to see that we're trying and that we are doing our best to treat others as we would treat him and how he would treat us. What does hospitality in your home look like, Marie? Do you host people in your home and have you in the same way that you do with people in the church?
I probably do it a lot more at church these days. When my kids were small, the door was revolving constantly with neighbors and little boys, coming over and just feeding them popsicles, and they were running in and out with snacks, and then sleepovers and big breakfasts and things like that when they would come. And then, but it's cute, some of the kids will come back now. They're all men now, so I'll be like, I remember when you would make us milkshakes, or they'll remember sweet little things, and it just was, they just knew that they were welcome there, and
Right, they don't remember a mess in the house. They remember the milkshake you gave
they remember
them.
The love you showed them,
or the love, or they just always felt comfortable or welcome when they came. So I felt that was a nice, it was nice to hear that from some of the kids. So, but yeah, I mean, these days I'm doing most of my entertaining here at church.
She says that as if like she doesn't want people in her home. The truth is, it's just because she's entertaining 200 people at a time. And this is the only place we can fit.
Right, it's just doing it every week. And
she just does it every week now. Instead of inviting everyone over for a Sunday dinner, she's like, let me just cook 4 sheet pans of food. I'll be here.
And I have a wonderful team of people in our parish that help every week. And, a lot of your family members are very helpful, your husband and your kids.
My husband's always like, God bless Marie. I don't know how she does it.
And she so happily takes on all of the tasks.
Yes.
You're always setting this example for others of how to be hospitable and how to show people love. And yes, a lot of it revolves around food, but again, in your own home, growing up, it's setting an atmosphere of Christ in your home and making it so that you have a home that's welcoming, because not everyone has the opportunity to be involved in that type of ministry at their church, because maybe it just doesn't work with their, stage of life. Like for me, it'd be almost impractical to try to be feeding people at church when I'm running around trying to chase 3 children. So if it's not something that you can do in your church setting, then it's like the small steps that you can take to make your home a welcoming place. So when people come to your home, they feel the love and they feel like Christ is there with them. And so then when they are grown, they come back and they think, oh yes, I remember the time that, you invited us all in. There was no hesitation, and they feel really welcomed.
And from an Orthodox perspective also, sometimes that's when you welcome someone into your home, that's the only exposure to like icons or incense or candles that they might have. And it does leave an impact on people. I've experienced it myself with people, just asking questions about the icons or the saints, and because it's something they've never seen before, and it can help open doors for people, but also just give people, I guess, maybe inspiration or motivation to create, more of a Christian home for themselves, to let Christ in and see that. So you're also an example to other people, welcoming them into your home. And it's a great, evangelism 101. Even if you don't say anything, you don't have to preach to anybody. It's
Yeah.
just
They see that.
the essence, the energy of Christ in your home.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the past with like kind of touching on evangelism and how Orthodox evangelism doesn't necessarily, especially in today's day and age, look like knocking on someone's door and saying, "Hi, do you know Jesus?"
Yeah.
But it might look like knocking on your neighbor's door and showing up with something for them, like a gift of something physical for them, just to let them know that you were thinking about them.
Right. Here's some Christmas cookies, or
Right.
here's some, whatever it is. I was thinking of you, and this, this is for you. That's hospitality also. That's, you're giving to somebody else and being the light of Christ to another person, and bringing that hospitality to their home.
Right.
Especially if it's somebody like a shut-in or a meal train situation or anything
that's
like
a great
that.
way to do that too. And I feel too like a lot of the visitors that come here, and then even our own parishioners every week, sometimes this is the only meal they share with somebody. We have a lot of parishioners who are widowed or widowers, and just people who are single, or they're busy and they don't get to sit down and have a meal. So I feel like they can talk with other Orthodox Christians. The inquirers can come in, the catechumens can learn more, and we have a very welcoming and more of a dynamic atmosphere, I feel like, here for that sort of thing. But not all churches have an extended, and then we have religious education, with our parish priest gives a talk, and an adult Sunday school, if you will. So I feel like we do offer that here, which is,
A blessing
nice.
for many.
It's a blessing.
Even I think it was just this past Sunday, we were leaving the church, and we have, Anna can correct me if I'm wrong, 15 catechumens? 14? 15?
I think some moved. So I think we're down to 12 right now. But
12?
yeah.
That's a lot.
Which we are we're a tiny country parish in the middle of nowhere. So to have 12 catechumens is a lot, probably the most that this church has ever seen at one time. One of our catechumens decided to bring along 8, 9, 10, something like that, friends. Cool, super cool, to church. And as they were walking out of church on Sunday, he turned to the friend, because the friend was like, "Do we leave now? Like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Liturgy's done." He's like, "No, man, we've
just
got like
getting started."
this is just, the party is just beginning, sort of thing. Like we got food, a whole meal of food." And I just I couldn't help but turn around and look at them and laugh. And I was like, "See, this is the real reason you all come. You all come for the food." Right. But really it's not that the liturgy isn't there to draw people in, but the liturgy can be intimidating and scary for
And overwhelming.
And
Yeah.
overwhelming for people that have no experience with it
Exactly,
whatsoever. This whole group of friends was coming from a very Protestant background, so a lot of them had never even heard of an Orthodox church, and here they were, having just stood through an entire liturgy, wide-eyed and in shock, whatever description, whatever they were feeling. But it kind of what do we all feel comfortable eating? Let's just go eat together.
Yeah.
And so I think it kind of made them feel comfortable, because they're like, okay, this was a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It helps them digest what they just experienced.
Right.
Also, yeah. Helps me digest.
It was a lot. Yeah, it's a lot if you've never been to an Orthodox
absolutely.
church. Yeah.
And when Orthodoxy is so new to you also, and you don't understand it whatsoever, I feel like sometimes people, they come here and they look at us like we're crazy people. They don't, they're just so confused. And then we sit down and kind of with this podcast, you sit down and you talk to someone and you eat food with them, and you realize that oh, you are a normal person, just like me.
Yeah.
You aren't just in this church that does all these like crazy things that I've never seen before, and you know,
Right.
oh, you are a person that just like loves God and loves Jesus and wants to show other people that you love Jesus and that you care about other people and that you're welcoming. Like, oh, okay, this is what it's like.
Like you said, that really helps people, especially people who might not have family. You
Right.
know, it really, they're like, wow, there's a whole meal afterwards, and like everyone gets to sit and hang out together. Like that might be the only socialization they get, and they're just all of a sudden they're a part of a family.
Right. It's like
You know?
Sunday dinner every.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
Sunday dinner every
Yes.
Sunday, and some people don't have that.
The culture
you know?
has really shifted too, because I grew up, and my baba, my grandmother on my dad's side, Slavonic, we had, you know, the Sunday meal. Like we would leave church and we would go to her house and have the Sunday meal. So there was still this aspect of fellowship. I know Anna's family still does Sunday meals. And did you grow up doing Sunday meals
We
together
did.
too?
Yeah, we always
so
went to my aunt
it
and
was like we
uncles,
all
yeah.
grew up, you know, having these Sunday meals. But how many people still do that
Not very many.
other than Anna's family?
Well, no, that's the thing, because I didn't grow up with that, because I didn't have family,
Your family
around.
wasn't around
So
here.
church was our family, and that Sunday coffee hour, that was our Sunday meal. And so I remember when my husband and I were first married, we loved that idea of Sunday dinner. I don't remember if he had it necessarily growing up, I don't know, but we both liked the idea of it. So we were like, when we moved back to Pennsylvania, because we were living in New York City at the time, we're like, we're going to start family dinner and have it. And our families were like, yes, you know, we'll be there. Yes. So they love that we host.
Yeah.
Now that like I feel like coffee hour is such a big thing, and afterwards there's church school and all this stuff. Now Sunday dinner, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's a lot, but like,
She's having 2 Sunday
It's still a
dinners.
nice tradition
Yeah.
for your children.
yes,
too.
it is.
Yeah.
They love it. My family loves it. I do love it.
Yeah.
I
It's
need
just
like
a
in
long
between.
day.
Sometimes I need like an hour of nobody talking to me.
But for the full day.
But for the people that don't have it, which is a lot of people,
Right,
I
yeah.
feel like nowadays, it's like this is why the church needs to step up and needs to show people and lead by example, because yes, hospitality, you can say, is a small T tradition, but it is still a tradition of the church. It's something that's been passed down through the generations, and it's evolved. It's looked different. It might have been in people's homes, but now it is in the church. But if we don't have it in the church and we don't have it in people's homes, then you run into this situation where you have so many people that feel really isolated because they might feel like they've found the church. They've come to Orthodoxy and they've found the church. But if your church has no hospitality and your home has no hospitality, then you're like missing this major aspect of
The Christian life.
the Christian life. Yeah.
The connection's not there. Yeah.
So other than feeding people, Marie, because maybe your church doesn't have a budget or whatever the situation, what are some
Right.
other ways you would think to be hospitable to people coming into church?
I think for especially like a lot of the new people, probably inviting them to activities that you might be doing with your friends or in the community or at your home, you know, and for the people that you do know, just we have a nice ladies Bible study that we do, and just having smaller group activities, gathering the teens together, like we have our new teen group, which is growing, and they do a lot of things together. And I think volunteering, doing community outreach projects together, I think just being with each other, being together, doing things together, it just forms like a bond. I think that,
Right. And when people first coming to the church, like, so if people are coming into the actual temple, even just a simple smile, welcome,
welcome.
A greeter at the door.
Yes.
greeter at the door. Here's where you can find the bulletin or a prayer book or candles or whatever. This might be a comfortable place for you to sit because, obviously we have a lot more standing, and that's something
Right.
new to people. So helping people feel comfortable coming in, so that, because you see sometimes people are like, they're just in the back with like, it's like not
What
sure
do I
what to do. Yes.
Where do I go?
Just making people feel comfortable and not judging them if their head's not covered or they have shorts on or they this, that, whatever,
Yeah.
like they'll get there, but you welcome them as Christ. They are Christ, regardless
Right.
of what they're wearing or how they look or,
Exactly.
how loud their children might be or,
Right. Yeah.
it's not our place to judge. It's just our place to welcome and,
Exactly.
make them feel loved and at peace. And then the same thing if, having people for coffee hour, going and sitting with people, even if it is just coffee and donuts, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You
Still
just
talking.
Yes, sitting, talking, making sure they don't feel alone, and that they, if they have any questions. And sometimes we're like, we don't want to be too much,
Right.
'cause we don't want to scare people away.
It's really hard to find the balance of not being too much because I don't know, I feel like Anna and I, we talk about, growing up Orthodox, which you can obviously relate to, and we didn't have a lot of visitors come around. So we didn't have a lot of practice talking
Right.
to
There
visitors.
there weren't a lot of catechumen. I mean, this is like unusual for us. I mean, like for probably,
Yeah.
I don't wanna speak for you guys, but I think in general, the Orthodox Church was sort of, unless you were getting married to a person, then they would maybe become a catechumen, but it was sort of a quick process.
Yeah.
So as part of like getting married. I would say I had only ever probably seen maybe 2 or 3 adults during my entire childhood, young adulthood, become catechumen and baptized or chrismated, and it was a huge deal because it just didn't happen, and now it's happening all the time here.
Which is
It's just
it's
amazing.
It's
yeah.
surreal.
It's just hard to wrap your mind around, but it's happening everywhere.
I
And
know.
my brother's parish, they didn't have, I would tell him about our catechumens, and he's like, we really don't have a lot of catechumens. And then in the past year and a half, he's been welcoming them like almost weekly. So they're coming from everywhere. So
Yeah, there's definitely a boom in Orthodoxy, which is a blessing, but it's a message to those that are already in the church of, if you haven't already thought about how you're going to welcome those people in, just know that they're coming.
they're coming.
And if you're not prepared, then they might leave. Not because they don't love the church, but because part of coming into the church is feeling welcome in the church.
Right.
A part of a family.
And part of a family, and if you don't have that, they might just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I see that a lot online, like people that are, we see posts all the time in the local groups, I'm sure you see them, of people looking for a church, and a lot of times their first question isn't, I'm looking for a church that teaches, about the Trinity or this or that. Their
Yeah.
question is, I'm looking for a church that has a good children's program and that is welcoming of
Right.
families and accepting, and like that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somewhere that will be hospitable to them. The rest of it comes secondary to them, which I'm not saying that it should,
Yeah.
but it's what they're seeking. Like people are seeking community, and they're seeking the family aspect of it because a lot of times they don't have it.
Right.
Did your church growing up have anything that they did that really fostered community, or was it really kind of isolated because people just went their own way with their families?
I think it was a little different. Most of the people in my community growing up all lived within like 5-minute drive or even a walk from the church. So everything was very close. So if we wanted to do something at church or participate in the Lenten services or go and help, make food for the food festival, it was literally like 5 minutes in the car, or if I stayed overnight at, on
That's
the
what we're
weekend
trying to do here, but for some reason, when we keep telling everyone to just like sell their house and move down the street, they aren't doing it.
Yeah, have a little. Yeah, it would be great.
A little commune.
Yeah, a little commune. Yeah, but I think our teen youth group was very strong. We had a very active teen group that would go and, we would do a lot of volunteer activities together as a group. We would have retreats. We would have different people come in and talk to us, or our parish priest would hold like little mini retreats. It was a very active youth parish, and the ladies were active with the food festivals mostly, but Our Lady's Altar Society was, most of the groups in our parish were pretty active, but everybody was just kind of always just like right there.
Yeah.
So it was a totally different, whereas most people drive to get here,
Right.
a distance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm thinking people might have family and friends, but not Orthodox family and friends.
Right.
So there is a big
There's
difference.
a big difference. Yeah.
And so to have your community help support you through your Orthodox journey, because you might not be getting the best feedback from
Right.
your family and friends. I mean, that's another aspect of people coming into the faith, is they have a lot of family who just doesn't understand, doesn't get it, and is against it, or thinks,
Doesn't talk to
Yeah.
them anymore.
Right.
so you end up, they really rely on
The
their
church, yeah.
community to help them
Yeah.
get through.
Yeah. We become their foster,
Yes.
siblings and brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, we
Right, the
just,
godparents.
the godparents.
That's a big
Yeah.
support.
Not that we want them to fall away from their biological family, but if you come into the church and your family is really against it and they disown you, then you need time to repair that relationship, but you need someone to fill the void while that's happening. Do you feel like your involvement in hospitality led to keeping you in the church, or was there something else that kind of helped you stay strong in your faith? Because I know a lot of people grow up Orthodox and they still leave.
Right.
It's
And I
not
know-
uncommon.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that I did grow up with in the Orthodox Church that don't go anymore, and I'm not really sure how it happens. Sometimes it's just they stop coming, and it's a habit. I mean, if you stop coming to church for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it just keeps, it's harder to come back, and some people just never come back. But when I talk to my mom on the phone, I'm like, oh, have you seen this one or that one? Or she'll tell me somebody came back that, I went to school with, or that we all went to church together. It's, it's really nice to hear, but a lot of them do not go to the
So
Orthodox
what kept
Church.
you in the church then?
My family, I think. I just my love for the church. I feel like I was heavily involved in different, aspects like the choir and the teen youth group. And my parents were always encouraging us, and we went to church camp. So we had that connection with the church camp every summer, and staying in contact with those friends and pen pals, and then seeing them at church conventions. So it was, our whole life was basically revolved around the church. And I wasn't really in a lot of sports. I was in, activities like the choir and things.
She was a spiritual warrior.
Yeah. But I mean, I didn't, most of our, activities revolved around church. So I would say it probably starts at home, and it starts with just what your family does, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know Anna and I have talked in the past about, we're all cradle here, so we've talked about growing up Orthodox and just like the things that we didn't fully understand, even though that we were involved in them. And I'm wondering, you obviously were involved in some aspect of hospitality through the church from a very young age.
Right, yeah.
Younger than most, I would probably say. And you still are. Do you feel like your perspective on hospitality has changed or evolved over the years, or have you developed a different type of understanding of what it means to be a hospitable person?
I think just, whenever I was growing up and helping with it, I was just trying to be helpful. Like just was like excited to be able to do something helpful at church. And I didn't really think too much about it at the time. I just, and the people, people would come down and have their, coffee and donut, and some of the people wouldn't come at all because they'd be going to Eaton Park for breakfast.
I was just telling my kids yesterday how I went to Eaton Park every Sunday.
Yeah, so that was
So
like
funny.
a thing.
The
and then-
Pittsburgh thing.
The Pittsburgh thing. And then it was funny on game day, like, people would come to church with their Steelers jerseys on. And I mean, it was like a huge thing. Like half the church was dressed in Steelers gear.
Oh, wow.
And then some of them would go off to the game or they would just like go, watch the.
So it was more
a
like
whole
you were
different-
there at the time, so that's why you were doing it.
Yeah, I was there, and that's why I was doing it. And I just enjoyed, helping and having something, to do, or I guess during coffee hour. But yeah, I would say the way it's changed for me now, like as an adult doing it, I feel like I can value the importance of it to people, because I feel like a lot of people don't have the family connections, and then with us not having our family around here, this was our Sunday, this is our Sunday dinner for the most part, every week, because our family's still in Pittsburgh and other areas. So we don't have any family around here. So it was always nice to say, oh, we're going to, sit down and talk to, you just feel like you're at family dinner, Sunday dinner. So I think that's an important thing, too, because a lot of people don't live near their families, and, it's just, I feel like also a lot of the elderly people, in our church, I'm like, well, who are they going to go home to? Like, if we don't give them a meal here at church, who are they going to eat with? They're just going to go home and open up a can of soup, or, do they see their children? Do they see their grandchildren? Even if they do have family here, you don't know if this might be the only interactions that they have all week. So I'm like, well, it's important for them. So, it just makes you feel like you're,
Purposeful.
yeah, it's more, intentional. And
Now, having been in the hospitality world for so long, what advice could you give for maybe avoiding burnout?
yeah, I know. Sometimes it's like, I'm kind of tired,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know it's important. Everybody's counting on me. I have to make sure that,
It's a lot.
pressure.
It
it's
is
a lot of pressure.
But all of the
yeah. But I feel like we all have different things. Like you guys are so active with the church school program and choir and just, different, the youth group now, and, all of the stuff you do with your,
You get sucked in and you realize you can never quit.
yeah. I mean, it's just, there's, everybody has their own things and their own gifts and talents.
Yeah.
I feel like, so, and some things are seasonal. Like I did teach Sunday school, but I was a young Sunday school teacher, in my old parish, and I mean, I was in the choir for several years. I always talk with my hands.
I know, I do too. I feel like
I was
Anna
like, why
never
do you wave
does.
your hands around? I'm like, I don't know.
Anna never does on the podcast, and I'm just like,
I'm always
Okay.
like, maybe it's a Pittsburgh thing. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean, I feel like just different phases of my life, like you said, with when our kids were small. I wasn't doing that much with hospitality. It started off small here for me. Like I would, one of the parishioners, Karen, was mainly in charge, and Marge, and some of our old parishioners, and she would just say, can you bring brownies, or can you bring a salad? So it kind of started small here because I was so busy with the kids, and I just was trying to corral them during church, or I just couldn't think much past that. But then it would get a little bit more, and it's like, I'm not feeling good. Can you, make sure you watch over the, or make sure the coffee's made, or do this. And then it just sort of kind of evolved
into being in charge.
Yeah.
into being in charge of
It
everything.
didn't happen right away. Yeah, it was kind of a gradual process. And then as my boys got older, I took on more and more, but...
Do you feel like you get burnt out doing it now, or is it just one of those things that like you love doing so much that you?
On occasion, yeah, I do feel a little bit burnt out, but I have so many wonderful people that help every week, so I don't feel like I'm not doing everything by any means myself, but I have, people that are coming early to set up and start the coffee and, get things out. And then we have, different phases of what goes on as the meal is prepared. So, and then it helps with like potluck, more people are starting to bring things and share food. And then we have a wonderful cleanup schedule thanks to somebody at our table.
We turned this coffee hour into a full-blown coffee meal like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's
massive meal. It's like catering
meal.
for over 100 people every week now. And we just kind of forgot the aspect that someone has to clean all of it up.
Right. Yeah.
And Marie, being the most amazing woman that she is, just was like, yep, I'm just going to clean up every week by myself this meal that I just cooked for 100 plus people. And so I guess that's part of it, is like delegate a little bit.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
so yes, let's
I think,
talk a little bit about that, 'cause we have seen that in different groups when people are like, we're trying to organize coffee hour. How do we, like, what are some things that different churches are doing? I need ideas, because we're just trying to get this together.
Which comes up a lot because all of these churches are growing so much now.
And it costs money, but you
Right.
want to have it organized, and you do want to spread the love of
Yes.
like who has to do the work, because
And
it's
it's not just spreading the love though, it's teaching.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of what we're saying, is like it's
Right.
teaching other people how to be
participate
hospitable.
in
Well,
it.
right,
Like,
because you
if
don't
it's-
know
right.
what their background is. Like, I know for
Exactly.
me, because we didn't have family around, we didn't entertain a whole lot at my house.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those skills that I didn't learn until I met my husband, who's Mr. Hospitality, next to Marie. And, and then we worked in the hospitality industry in New York City for almost a decade. So
It's
I
no surprise
learned.
he's on the hospitality
But
team.
like, but he had to show me, like, we went and stayed at his aunt and uncle's, and he like insisted on doing the dishes, and I was like, well, they said they do the dishes. Why are you doing the dishes? And he's like, Anna, you always do the dishes. I'm like, okay.
Anna's husband tried yelling at me for vacuuming or for sweeping under her kitchen table, and I was like, just walk away. I'm gonna just sweep up under here because I brought 3 children here, and then
so
you fed them
funny.
like popcorn, and now you've got like popcorn all over under your table. So I'm just, leave me alone while I
No,
clean
and
under
he's
your
so
table.
wonderful. He's always like, you're the guest. You're not allowed to clean. And I'm over there like, thank you for cleaning.
But people need taught. That's
Yes,
the thing.
yeah.
Like, especially in the church setting,
Yeah.
it's like we're not just teaching them. We're trying to teach people how to be a decent human being,
Right.
how to
And-
show the love that Christ has, and so.
And I think a lot of churches too, like different family members and friends that I've talked to for other parishes, I'm like, what do you guys do at your parish? And a lot of them will take turns, or like, certain families will sign up weekly, and then they're in charge of the entire thing, that Sunday. And then the next week it would be another family or a couple of families. And then usually they come from larger parishes where they can, recruit more people.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are intimidated. They're like, I can't make food for that many people, or I don't know what to make.
I
or,
think
or I
that's
don't
part
have
of
money.
it.
I
have money.
Yeah,
And,
I think
and
that's
we
part
do
of
have
it.
some money, thank God, with some of the rummage sales, and then people donating, in the baskets, and the church does help to cover, some of the extra funds that are needed. But it can be expensive, and we do tell people, like, if you want to make something and you don't have the money for the ingredients, or you don't have the money to
time.
purchase it, or the time,
Bring it to Marie.
yeah, and just bring your receipt, and
Sorry.
we'll reimburse you, if you do want to do something like that. But I think what we've been just trying to encourage at our own churches here is that, bring a bottle of juice. Like, it can be something simple like a loaf of bread. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, a little package of muffins.
And you don't have to have money to
Yeah.
be able to contribute something, which I think is why I really like this new structure that our church is following of like, it isn't just like you sign up and do
Right.
it, because my church was the same way growing up. Like we, at one point in time, had coffee hour every Sunday. Then it turned into like twice a month it happened. And those twice a month times that it was happening was people signing up on a sheet. Like their family would say, I'll do this week. And, you do all the prep. You bring all the food. You do all the cleanup, which is fine unless you have a family that can't afford it but would like to help.
Right.
And then they're uncomfortable saying, hey, I can't afford a coffee hour. Can I help you? And it leaves this like awkward room where Anna came in and was like, hi, you eat here at this church. Welcome to the family.
Yeah.
It's time that you start helping.
Yeah.
And kind of like if you're able-bodied and you are, you don't have a newborn or you're not teaching church school or you're not at a council meeting, like, welcome to the church. Welcome to the family.
Right. You're part
You
of
don't
the
need to have
family.
money
Yeah.
to
Wash
some
some
dishes.
Wipe down the table, sweep the
So,
floor.
and so sometimes you just have to tell people that they
Right.
have to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there have been some people that are just like wide-eyed and are like, I've never cleaned a dish at coffee hour before.
Yeah.
And it's like, welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Right.
just, you lovingly show them
Yeah.
How to do
how
yeah.
to, move around the kitchen and where everything goes. And
Anna's 12-year-old,
Yeah.
12,
12,
will teach you how to load a dishwasher.
Yes, he's wonderful at that.
Do you want to share a little bit about what our most recent, it's probably been about 6 months now, cycle has been, now that we've grown so much and have so many people?
Right. So it was an issue of like Marie and my husband doing all the dishes and cleanup, and I was like,
For
okay, I
5
can't
years.
handle. I can't watch this anymore.
They come home 2 hours late.
These
after
two
church.
people are like so giving and won't say no, but everyone's just letting them clean up everything. So, and myself included. So
We all sat around and did nothing.
I was like, I'm gonna
other
make
than say thank you.
a schedule, and it took us a few months to kind of figure out like the best way the schedule would work, but essentially I think we're on a 5-week schedule with the size of our parish currently. So it's a 5-week rotation schedule, and everyone who comes to coffee hour and is at least a catechumen or parishioner, we don't make visitors or inquirers do this, but
That isn't elderly.
or that isn't elderly or has like a baby, or actually we say one parent can help while the other parent watches the children.
Yeah.
There's exceptions
Yes.
to it.
Yeah.
Like if you're teaching church school that week, or if you're at a council meeting that week, or if you have a newborn, there's
disabled
exceptions.
or
Yes.
some way.
So basically we have, everybody, and it's a 5-week rotation. And so that way, like the names are in the bulletin and then it's in the
Written
email.
on a whiteboard now.
And now we have it on a whiteboard just for anyone who happens to forget that it's their week to clean up.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's
It's been great.
yes.
Yeah. So
I
thank
mean,
you.
I think
you,
it looks great.
Yeah.
but yes, it doesn't cost anyone anything, because
Right.
that is always the issue. Because I remember even in New York City, at my church, it was very small, smaller than this, and same thing. They were always trying to figure out coffee hour. How do we, make this work? And so the one time they're like, "Hey, will you host with your friend?" And I was like, "Oh, sure." But then the one guy, my one friend who was older, he was like, "They shouldn't have asked you. You're a college student. Like, you can't afford this, you know?" And I was like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll just do, like whatever."
Which
But
for
like,
some people it might be like
Right.
you can't afford it.
Right.
So if you can't
Right.
afford it, then it's like, well, what can you do to help?
right.
Yeah.
So there has to be, keep that in mind, that like, because I've also seen people do like the 5-week schedule, but that's for doing coffee hour also.
Right, right.
So you would set up and bring the food and then clean up, and that would be your whole thing, which could work. I think if you
Right.
have enough people
People on it, yeah.
on that group to kind of lift when there's someone who can't bring the food, or contribute in a monetarily financial way.
Right.
Yeah, but not everyone wants to be disclosing.
person
Yeah,
that
they're like,
can't-
I
yeah.
can't do it. You don't want to put people in that situation,
Right.
which is
Exactly.
why
We have a hospitality ministry of the people who
like
like
the food's kind of covered, but
Yeah.
Right. So people who like to prepare food or cook food or whatnot can be a part of it, and that way you guys have your staples, or how why don't you explain?
why don't you
like, your-
explain
yes.
it? How about we let Marie explain what she does instead of us trying to explain what Marie does when we don't know. Go right ahead, Marie.
Yeah, so we usually have our staple items that, the coffee, the creamer, the juices that are needed, the like peanut butter and the jellies and the butters and things like that. So we
Which
do
come from
ask for
donations,
donations.
usually.
Mostly all of that is from donations on a weekly basis. We do have a fund we just started a couple years ago with our rummage sale. A portion of the rummage sale funds goes towards hospitality. and the church does help cover some of those costs. So usually, the hospitality tries to provide like a hot dish, a salad, at least that's how we do that here, a salad, some type of bread or bagels or something, and then all of the condiments and accoutrements that go with that, and and the beverages at a minimum. That's what we have. But then we encourage some, we have people with dietary restrictions, like such as, the gluten-free or.
Marie always feeds me.
Yeah. So, we've started to try to make sure, because we do have, a large percentage of.
Not only do you come to this massive catered meal, but there will be a gluten-free option.
We try to have
and
the
an
gluten-free
egg-free
option.
option. And signs by all of them.
That's been, kind of a work in progress as we've, learned what, we want to make sure everybody has something, to eat. And I think, and then we have our fasting times. So that's another whole thing that, is interesting for the catechumens to see, is how we have the, different, they get to actually experience that, with
Right, because
vegan.
if they aren't necessarily fasting yet, but they'll experience it when they come to the church
Yeah.
potlucks.
When
What a
they,
fasting
when
meal
they
looks
come
like.
to coffee hour, and now every coffee hour is 17 different soups.
Yes.
Welcome to lunch.
10 different ways for chickpeas.
Yeah. How many different chilies can we have tonight? They all taste great, but
Yeah. So it's been, that's sort of how we've been structuring things. We have about 7 people that are, actively helping. We have a good core group, and then we have some of our junior group that helps a lot too. So
when
yeah.
she says they help, she means they sometimes put things away nicely, and they sometimes spill entire containers of juice.
So yeah, but they're all trying.
But they're trying.
They're
so
trying.
so you'd say it's probably important to have a system. So if your church doesn't have a
Definitely,
system, work on coming up
Some
with some
sort of a
system.
structure. A
Yeah,
little bit of a
and
structure.
make sure it avoids burnout.
Right, exactly. Everyone shares
Yes.
shares in the
Responsibility.
community
Yeah.
responsibility.
Well, and a benefit also of our church implementing this like cleaning rotation is that we are also being a lot more mindful of the products that we're using, because we used to, not to say that Marie didn't do a ton of cleanup before, but we used to use primarily paper products for every meal, so that at least you were only cleaning like all of the main dish and the silverware. But now we've shifted to
A commercial dishwasher.
commercial
Yes.
dishwasher, so that we are not going through
Yeah, we're
of
becoming
200 paper
disposable.
plates.
more
and
environmentally
Yeah.
conscious for sure.
making
so.
more mindful decisions.
Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with our community on how to be more hospitable in your home or your church?
I would say just, when you, just even with the people that are going to your church already, like the parishioners that are there, maybe try to, use that social hour and use the coffee hour as a way to get to know people. Because I think a lot of times we stick to our little cliques and our tables, and it's like,
Talk to someone new.
yeah, try to talk to somebody new, I would say.
Or I've noticed
Yeah.
if your family attends the same church as
Yeah.
you, you end up sitting with your family
your
and then you don't
family.
ever get to talk to anybody else. So sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
hubby, I love you, but I'm going to go sit over here with
Yeah.
this person because I never get to talk with them.
Right. And sometimes that's the only time you do get to talk to them. And,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're too shy or they're not sure to approach you. But I think some of us, having been, raised as cradle, it's important for us to remember, like, not everybody was, and they might not feel like accepted or like fully embraced, or they just are afraid, and
You don't want to come off as cliquey.
and you don't want to come off as
you don't-
like they're just sitting
Yeah.
over there and I don't really know, and sometimes they're like pleasantly surprised or happy that you come over and talk to them, and you learn something new too, which is nice. I usually learn something like, I didn't know about that, or I didn't know, something about their background, or, it's a nice way to try to step outside of our comfort zones, I think, too.
Yeah, and if you don't know what to say to someone, I am always like, so what brought you here? You know,
Yeah,
Just
right.
something simple. How'd you find us?
How did you
How-
find
know,
us? Yeah.
just to kind of get it started, and then you can ask like, oh, what's your background? Of were you always Christian, or just simple
Right.
questions to kind of
Yeah.
lighten the air and
Yeah, and then they feel comfortable, like something that they know they can share and talk about, that that's not going to put them on the spot, but it's just who they are, and just trying to share that. So yeah.
So put in some effort in the home, in the church,
In the church,
everywhere.
Yes, hospitality is an act of love, and we just need to be that love and give that love.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love this 1 Corinthians 16:14. Let all that you do be done in love.
And that's Marie. Thank you for joining
Thank
us
you, guys.
today, Marie.
Thanks so
It was
much.
so great to have you to talk about
It was-
hospitality.
Yeah, it was great. It was
We
a
really
lot.
enjoyed your insight, and like we've said many times, there really was no better person
Aw,
to
thank you.
talk about how to show that love. Thank you for tuning into Veiled in Grace. We are an Orthodox women's lifestyle podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with a friend.
Feel free to leave a comment below with any topic suggestions you might like us to discuss in the future, or any tips you have in hospitality that we didn't go over, or any more questions you might have that we or Marie
will
answer. And also if you're listening to us on a podcast, please leave us a review that will help other people find our channel. The best way is word of mouth. So we appreciate those of you who have already shared the love.
What shall I render to